Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Daily Grind. My name is Kelly Johnson, your fun and friendly host. We're on episode 47, the very best one yet. Shout out to my podcast team, Ambiguous Network, and fellow pals on there, including UMAD Bro, the Sam Bustle Podcast, and GDP Goal Driven Professionals. Where to find more about the network, head over to ambiguouspodcastsolutions.com. And if you're interested in joining the network, reach out to Will Tereshuk and his team. We are coming up to the final episodes on season 1. Crazy how time flies, right? So before launching season 2, feel free to check out our journey thus far and share your feedback with us. Get us on the map, help us grow, share this episode with a friend, tag them on social, send them the link, and give us a rating or review on Apple. So virtual high five to you in advance. So I had the pleasure of connecting with another amazing woman out in the Windy City, doing amazing things like helping businesses get unstuck, navigating ambiguity, achieving big outcomes, and much, much more. So today we are going to talk about her daily grind and sharing her story. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Stef Caldwell. So Stef, she works in customer experience at Narrative Science. She's the founder of Manifest. And Manifest helps out a ton of things. So growing community and for ambitious women, creating spaces for women to gather like-minded women to have open dialogue about the challenges they face both personally and professionally. And she's an author, speaker, and podcast host of not one, but 2 podcasts. She lives and works in the Chicago area. So overall, great person to have on our show today. So welcome, Stef.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to be on the Daily Grind. This is great. I love that we connected right away, and I feel like you have a lot to share with our listeners out there in the world and help motivate them and inspire them to do many great things. So I guess first and foremost, do you want to tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Stef Caldwell, Chicago native, but I grew up in the suburbs. If anybody listening is familiar, Bloomingdale is where I'm from. Now I live downtown in the South Loop, and I like to describe myself as multi-passionate. By day, I work full-time for one of the most innovative AI companies on the planet, a company called Narrative Science. And by night, I'm the founder of Manifest, the author of Manifest Her, and the host of the Manifest Her podcast. But lastly, I keep it real and I stay healthy at Ritual Hot Yoga, where I'm an ambassador. And I'm actually wrapping up my yoga teacher training right now. So hopefully I will be on the mic virtually and in person, motivating and helping others stay healthy all over Chicago soon.
Wow, that's so much stuff going on. Grinding hard. Truly a daily grinder out here, you guys, in Chicago. That's so great. Lots of good stuff to talk about. I'm excited to hear your story on how you got involved and what you do currently. So, I mean, I guess maybe let's start off right away. How did you become interested in working in like software, high-tech, AI, that realm?
So I have always been fascinated by tech. I think that it moves so fast and it makes life so interesting. And I remember being a kid and reading Time for Kids magazine in the 90s. And I read in there, in like 5th grade, that there was going to be a hotel on the moon and people flying around on jetpacks by 2020. And we're not there yet. But I mean, like last week, Elon Musk and SpaceX did just send astronauts to the space station on a privately funded space mission. So we're pretty close. We're not too far off. But in all seriousness, my mom worked in high tech, and she would always just pass articles to me about entrepreneurs who were doing amazing things with tech, like self-driving cars and computers that were small enough to fit in our hands and make calls and access the internet and play music. And I just thought, this is so fascinating. I want to do more of this when I grow up.
That's great. You had like a young age, you're able to get involved, have inspiration from your own mom, and then here we are today. So yeah, did you study that in college, through school? Do you have other resources, network in the industry? Tell us more.
I did not study it in school, so I'm not a computer science major, didn't study STEM. I went to school for marketing. And when I got out of school, I started working for a marketing company here in Chicago, Spins, shout out to them. They've got an incredible mission. And there I was exposed to analytics products for the first time. But the commentary that I always got from the customers of these analytics products was, this data is really useful, but if we could just make more sense out of it by just turning it into language, that would be really incredible. So I followed this customer problem to where I am now at Narrative Science, where we take data, big data, and we turn it into language that anybody can just read and understand their most critical business information and move forward.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I like that you're taking like a big picture and then kind of, breaking it down into bite-sized pieces for people, consumers, people that you serve, customers all around the world. I'm guessing that's really great. How long have you been in the industry now at Narrative Science too?
So I've been with Narrative Science for 4 years. My 4-year anniversary is actually this month. But in analytics, my entire career, I haven't had a job that didn't revolve around this idea of how do we make data more accessible and more understandable for people like you and I.
That's great. Well, yeah. Congrats on happy 4 years. That's awesome. I feel like I hit like the perfect timing on people's anniversaries when they come on the daily grind. It's not like I don't do the extra research and looking up your background, but I just timing's right. We'll go
I
with
love
it. Yeah. Really great stuff. Yeah, storytelling. You could probably tell us more or how that plays a role into what you do as a podcast host as well. But I guess maybe moving along on your big and amazing resume. So what motivated you to further become an entrepreneur and create Manifest?
Yeah, so I was going through a really difficult career transition and I just wasn't at all happy about it. This is a few years ago. And the long and the short of it is that I had my dream job at Narrative Science. I was working with chief product officers at the world's top analytics companies, and our business needed to make a pivot. And I was kind of affected in the wake of that pivot. And so I get a call from my boss. He tells me they're closing down my department, that I'm being moved the next day to a new department. And it just so happened that they were looking for somebody to lead that department. And he'd recommended that I interview for that job. So I'd spent weeks prepping for this interview, but at the end of the day, I wasn't who they needed in the role. And they decided to go in another direction. So specifically, they had been looking for somebody who's a bit more confident, especially as it pertained to their people management experience. Now, as a woman who'd never managed people, it was difficult for me to exude confidence in being able to manage a team. And these two blows, the one, the kind of losing of this dream job, and then the second of, hearing that I just didn't have what it took to manage and lead a team, it absolutely crushed me. I felt completely worthless. And I think that a lot of ambitious women, they tie so much of their self-worth to their careers. That was who I was. And so without my identity being my career anymore, because I was kind of stuck in this literally sea of ambiguity, I naturally turned to my girlfriends. I monopolized dinner table conversations for months and really voiced a lot of my frustrations. And what I found out when I started talking openly about the shame and the regret and the frustration and the pain I was feeling from this experience, I realized I wasn't alone. And that pretty much every woman I knew had some similar story. They were overlooked, they felt underappreciated, and it had them feeling stuck or worse, like me, worthless. And I was shocked because, I thought that I had really meaningful relationships with these women, my friends who I was having these conversations with, but we'd never talked about these things before. And my big question was why? And so that was really the catalyst to what has now become Manifest.
That's great. Again, I like how you took like a personal experience that you had and in the workplace as well, which is super. I feel like that's 100% confidence right there. Taking a problem or a challenge that you've had and making the most of it, and having that grind and that drive to do big and better things out there. So yeah, Manifest. So on the branding of it, can you tell us more about how you came up with that name and the message it speaks?
Yeah. So to maybe answer that a bit more broadly, I think that one of the things that holds ambitious women back from pursuing their biggest dreams is the fear of judgment by their direct circle of friends and family. They kind of have this fear that if they step into the person they want to become, they're going to expose themselves to failure and therefore ridicule. And God forbid they do something they think they want to do, but then on that path, that journey just doesn't feel like it's for them. They have this fear that they're going to be ostracized from their groups and be labeled a failure. So with Manifest, what we do is we bring ambitious women together from all walks of life. We sit them at tables where they don't know a single other woman, and then we ask them to share their stories, the things that they are most proud of and grateful for, the things that they're struggling with and what makes them nervous and scared. We talk about our biggest ambitions, how we can achieve them, and then we vow to support each other through our collective knowledge and networks and through just simple accountability. So this idea, this name for the company, Manifest and Manifest Her, in our community, any dream is welcome, but you have to be willing to do the work to bring that dream to life. You have to be willing to ask for help. You have to be willing to pull up your own seat and participate in the conversation at the table. And if you're willing to do all of that, then the outcome is you'll manifest her, the woman that you were born to be. And so we create the safe space, we facilitate that next level conversation. But at the end of the day, if you show up for you and you show up for the other women, you're going to get the most out of our experiences online and offline, and you will manifest that reality for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really like that message. I think it's really well said. Very fitting too. What you put in, what you get out. It's really up to you. But I think manifest is just the key add-on. The last, like, I would say minute of you speaking, the whole message is, I just felt like so empowered and motivated to do things. I'm just running through all of the goals I have on my list. Like, oh my God, this is it. Time is now type of thing. So this is just a little teaser on what's the best to come, or just being involved on your platform, things like that, connecting with other women. I'm assuming you have a lot of success stories, a lot of great individual females out there, future leaders or current leaders, or in the works of, that are involved in Manifest.
Yeah, and it's truly been the most rewarding thing for us. Is since we started our programming in 2019, we've had, a few, not a few hundred, but hundreds of women through. And it's been exceptional. We've seen women that have gone back to school and gotten an education that they really wanted. We've seen women go through transformative weight loss journeys. We've seen women start companies. We've seen women leave relationships. It's just, to your point, the time is now. And when you sit in a room with a bunch of women who have equally ambitious dreams, and then you have them to lean on and that network to say, like, all right, are we really going to do this? Okay, will you hold me accountable? Mm-hmm. You just see progress, and it's all about progress at the end of the day. If you're not growing, you're not living, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I love it too. It's like kind of it's very community based, and so you support one another and you motivate each other as well. Accountability, that's such a key word in today's age. And I think, what you're doing is great. Manifest her, lots of resources. And I think I forgot to ask this earlier, but within Manifest, you have a team. Now going back to the flip side of prepping for that one interview and not having the experience to manage a team, I'm assuming now you have the experience you have a team.
That's honestly, for me personally, in my own personal growth, that's been one of the most exciting things about building this, is actually getting to try my hand at inspiring and leading a team towards a vision that we all are aligned on. And so while it at first was me and my best friend, and I was just kind of vision and she was helping with execution, now it's become, we're a 4-person crew, and all of us have such different personality types. And so it's been really inspiring and exciting to be able to align each of the incredible team members that I have to work that's meaningful to them and aligned with their strengths.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I like it. Team atmosphere, super positive. Keep the good vibes up.
All about the team.
all about the vibes. So tell us more, or our listeners, if they're not knowledgeable about Manifest or haven't came across your platform yet, which is crazy. Well, I mean, you've only been around for a year, not even, or.
Yeah, we're like 18 months end to end, and so we're still an infant.
Yeah, pretty new, but what's all included within being part of this community? I know you've recently launched the book. Can you tell us more?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the book here in a second, but just a little bit more about the community. We really started by doing one-off events, and we were hosting those about every month with 10 women per event. With COVID, obviously, a lot of what we created during our first year in business has changed. So not by the time your listeners are getting this, but shortly thereafter, we're launching our first kind of online community where you can access our programming in a digital format, as well as hang out with us on a monthly basis for more of that live interaction. once COVID lifts and we can start bringing strangers back together, that is absolutely our intention. We started as an offline place because we think that too much of our lives is digital right now, and it's actually preventing connection in a lot of ways. But the world gives you lemons, and we turn it into lemonade. So we're adapting, and we're moving forward in a way that's authentic to us. But to answer your question about the book, so I really got interested in writing at a very young age. So when I was a little girl, I devoured books. I actually just posted about this on Instagram today. I have memories of my mom taking me to Barnes and Noble when I was a kid, and I would literally sit in the store from store open to store closed, just thumbing through books and ordering hot chocolates from their cafe and just reading. And I loved the adventure I could go in my own head when my nose is buried in a book. And I remember having access to a computer, probably, gosh, one of the first computers since the 90s. And I always sat down, created a Word document, and then started to write a novel. I never got anywhere when I was a kiddo, never made it too far. But then ultimately, when school got a bit harder, I stopped reading and I stopped thinking about writing. I think a lot of kids do. I think we kind of get PTSD from so much homework and being forced to read and learn things that we're not all that interested in. So it took me, till adulthood to really recover from that. And so a couple of years ago, I got back into reading. I started reading a ton of nonfiction about entrepreneurs that I was inspired by, just personal development books on topics that really fascinated me. And then I started sharing all of that, what I was learning from those books, with the people around me. And so when we started Manifest, it just really gave me a platform to share more of that, but in a structured way. And when we started seeing women take to the tools that we were giving them to transform their lives, I mentioned, weight loss journeys and education journeys, we knew we were onto something, and we knew we wanted to share it further. So anyway, I had this idea to turn our curriculum into this 8-week wellness series in partnership with Ritual Hot Yoga. We ran that series. It went really, really well. And that was just the confirmation that we needed to make the book come to life. So essentially after that, I went heads down. In 90 days, I had a straight up working manuscript that I was able to hand over to our community. I got feedback on that for like 6 months. I reworked it, and now it's ready. It's in the market. Right now we're doing signed pre-order copies, but the official pre-order will be on Amazon and everywhere books are sold August 1st, and then officially live in market September 1.
Wow, such a great story. I love the whole background on your writing experience, again, from a young age, how you've came all the way through to Manifest. You have your platform. I think this fits very perfect with all the materials and that community base and what your message is and what you want to do with others, like supporting them, inspiring them, motivating them. And you hit it too really clearly. It's not just helping to accomplish those career goals, but also outside of career, like weight loss or like personal goals, things like that. I think that's really important to serve all those different areas.
Yeah, one of the things that I really thought about a lot when we started Manifest was the fact that there's kind of support groups for any one topic, right? There's women in tech, and there's women in manufacturing, and then there's yoga studios, and then there's spin studios, but there's no company that's just like, are you an ambitious woman with big ass goals in a lot of areas of life, and you're looking to level up the people that are around you because you want to accomplish these big ass things? That's what Manifest is for. Like, the way that we think about your life is you are multi-passionate. There are many domains in which you have big goals, and you should be able to achieve across all of those. You have to prioritize. You have to leverage, the collective knowledge and networks of other people, but you should be able to accomplish all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree on those. And again, I give you kudos as well on how quick you've taken you came from idea and how now it's on the market. We had on prior episode 27 Paul Maher. He's a Milwaukee-based author and runner. And we walked through the process on how long it takes to get that book on shelves or on Amazon or wherever. Yeah, kudos to you. Again, ambitious goals, and you have that badass, goal-driven personality to get things done, and get get in the hands of people. So
Yeah. I mean, it takes tenacity, it takes perseverance. And I wouldn't believe you if you told me a year ago how long it would take to get this book out in the market. But it's the fruit of the labor is just the sweetest fruit I've ever tasted.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, I like that you tied in with your involvement in hot yoga. So also, finding that balance, promoting healthy living, healthy lifestyle type of thing. I think that's important. And again, you're reaching out to the different demographics that have ambitious goals. If it's someone at the yoga studio or even outside, that's really great.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, it's all about, we exist in so many communities in our lives, and oftentimes we find ourselves in communities that have a lot of overlap. If you drew a Venn diagram, the types of people in each one of those communities, there's something in common there.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah. I can feel we probably have a lot of stuff in common, but again, a lot of people. I'm ambitious too. We have a lot of daily grinders out there that are pretty ambitious. So I think all these people need like a book in their hand right now.
Love it.
But yeah, speaking of podcasting or just underneath the whole Manifest Her, so you also host your own podcast. Can you tell our listeners more about that, and as well as your other podcast too outside of Manifest that's recently started?
Yeah, for sure. Maybe a better way to answer this question is just the motivation behind everything that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So this is going to get real deep real fast, but when I was a teenager, I had an inner dialogue that told me every day I was not enough. And unfortunately, one day that inner dialogue convinced me that I needed to die. And so I attempted suicide. And fortunately, I failed. But less than a year later, and totally by chance, I witnessed a man commit suicide by setting himself on fire. And I called 911, but it was too late. And when I woke up from the trauma of all this experience, that inner dialogue in my head changed. And she said, "This is not your path. You're meant for more." And she said this to me just in enough time for me to get my life together, go to university, play sports at university. And college really gave me a chance to start over and to start stepping into the woman that I'm still becoming. But when I got to the end of college, I was overcome with anxiety about the future. I knew who I was there, and I just had no idea who I was going to be when I got outside of college. And it was at this critical juncture that I learned about Lululemon, which is going to sound random, but I promise this will come full circle. They have an incredible goal setting program. So they have a corporate goal of helping 1 million people set and achieve goals. And I sat down with their online program and I set some big ass goals over a 10-year horizon. Things like make 6 figures, start a company, run a marathon, get married. And I achieved every single one of those goals in 5 years. And so I was feeling on top of the world. And that's when I get this call from my boss, and my life as I knew it totally changed. So I'm saying this because I think most of us have this prescribed path in life. You're born, you go to school, and then you leap off into the abyss of life after school at whatever level of education is right for you. That's a really crazy point in your life. You have to go from this defined path to the sea of ambiguity of what I call your post-prescribed life. So with my podcast, the Manifest Her podcast, and with my podcast, the Data Storytelling podcast, I want to share the tools that help people and companies get unstuck, navigate that ambiguity, whatever that is, whether it's their life or their business, and achieve big ass outcomes. And I figure I can do this because if I can go from suicidal to 6-figure woman, owner and founder of a community helping hundreds of women set and achieve big ass goals, then literally anybody can do it. So what motivated me to start both podcasts, and what you can expect from both podcasts, is attacking those different challenges, whether they're personal or business, and attacking them from this lens of there's a lot of ambiguity here. How do we bring structure? How can we bring in experts who have brought structure in their own lives so that you can leverage those tools to answer the questions in your own life and to move forward in your own life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really well said there. That's great. I love the story. Again, you're taking it to the next level, and you're inspiring a lot of people that listen to our podcast on the Daily Grind. So keep on doing this. Again, I like that it's super unique. It's not like something that I pull out of the library and like, oh, that's that's a Steph over there. That's what she's done in her career. No, you're totally different, and I think that's great. And I think you motivate someone. Again, each and every episode, people click with something that one of our special guests says or tells or explains about their own personal experience, and you can apply it to everyday life and in your own daily grind. So this is really good key takeaways here on today's episode. But yeah, on the Manifest Her podcast. So you again actually host, similar to the Daily Grind, you guys host a couple different special guests on your own podcast. You have a group of ladies on there. Am I right?
Yeah. So it's my team, and essentially we look at our networks and we say, who do we know that has a really interesting story, unexpected based on what you see from them, especially online, and can we get them on this show and have them reveal who they are, what their biggest dreams are, what the obstacles are that are holding them back from achieving that, and then what advice they'd give to themselves and others to kind of step forward on that journey. But what I love about having multiple hosts for the show is each of us, again, we have such different perspectives, that the types of questions and commentary that you hear from each one of the hosts is just so different. So it creates a lot of variety, I would say, in the interview formats and the interview style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it. A lot of creative questions on there. I listened to some of your recent ones with one of your most latest ones, episode 3, Lauren Doyle, 2-time gold medalist. That's great. And then, yeah, again, you go across industries, get to talk about people's stories, and yeah, I like the creativity. And I like the drive and the ambitious goals and things like that. Again, all part of Manifest Her, and it's super motivating. So keep the grind up. But
Thank you.
yes, on the other one, so the data storytelling podcast, again, pretty new as well. You bring on guests onto that. Can you tell our listeners a little bit more about that podcast if they want to follow that as well? Like, what's it?
Yeah. So that one came about honestly because what we're doing at Narrative Science has never been done before in the world. We are totally reimagining the way that people interact with data. But at the end of the day, nobody gives a flying crap about data. They care about the information that data provides them so they can take action. And we've been really fortunate that we've had some really, really innovative people that are just heads of industry. So, a 3-time CTO who now works at Amazon, who has implemented our tech successfully, seen massive return on investment from it, and wants to do more of that. CPO at Rakuten. And again, huge goals, huge questions, tons of ambiguity, did it successfully. And so the intention behind that podcast is, how do we give those guys a platform so that they can scream from the mountaintops, hey, if you're a CTO, you're a head of industry, and you are dealing with this challenge in your business, there's a type of tech out there that may be able to help you. And there's a ton of ambiguity if you're going to implement it. There's a lot of big questions you got to ask yourself. But again, the return on investment there is there. And so what we wanted to do was kind of leverage our networks in the market to just grow awareness of this type of capability and ultimately help people implement high tech when there is a lot of ambiguity, whether it's ours or any other service provider. I don't think it matters. We're just trying to create that thought leadership and that inspiration among heads of industry.
That's really great. Again, it's a very unique podcast. Really cool that you get to bring on different people, experts, industry leaders onto your platform and help them tell their real life examples too, and give advice to people out in the industry, which is great. So yeah, again, I've done a little bit of research, listened to your latest episode. I think it's phenomenal. I don't even work in that industry. I'm in consumer goods, but I think it's great. Again, you get to learning from other people and applying that knowledge or their advice or takeaways into your own workplace or even your own personal life. I think that's really important. You get to pull different pieces and create that whole puzzle together. Everything's different, but you make it work though if you're goal driven. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I guess moving along in the daily grind episode. So Steph, you're really busy daily grinder out there. Can you walk us through your own daily grind in the life of Stef? I know every day is different for you, and you could choose pre-COVID or post-COVID or time. Uh, can you tell us more? Like, walk us through a day.
Yeah, for sure. COVID's definitely thrown a wrench, I think, in everybody's habits. But I think we've now been dealing with this for long enough that I'm starting to develop my, gosh, I hate this new normal, quote unquote. So, hell yes, let me talk you through it. I typically wake up between 5 and 6 a.m. with the sunrise. I think Mother Earth's greatest show is sunrise and sunset, and I want a front seat to that show every single day that I can. But this is my like for a special morning routine. I get out of bed, hit start on the coffee maker while I wait for the coffee to brew. I snuggle my husband and my dog. And then when coffee cup number 1 is ready, I pour myself a cup and I head to yoga. To me, the mental and health practice that yoga creates for me is just the ultimate way to start my day. Um, Now, because of COVID, I'm actually taking my dog for a walk before I'm headed to yoga. The hours have changed a little bit, but post yoga, I shower up, scarf down, almond butter and raspberries. It's like my favorite breakfast. And I had to work at narrative science. I am full time there, so that is a 100% full time day job as far as 9 to 5 is considered. I guess obviously the hours change a lot there too, but after narrative science, I get online and I put in 2 to 3 hours on Manifest. That is my passion. That is something I love to spend time on. Sometimes it's a bit difficult when you have already had a very full day, but at the end of it all, Ronnie, my husband, and I, we sit down, we eat dinner, and we watch either some stand-up comedy or Ridiculousness with Rob Dyrdek, which is like our favorite guilty pleasure show. So that's a day in the life of Stef.
Oh, that sounds incredible. Yeah, let's replicate it here. No, I'm kidding. Oh, that's great. No, I think actually during COVID as well, just working remotely instead of commuting to work. I used to walk to work in the loop, but now since I don't walk to work, I just stay inside. I've actually been taking up some early morning yoga, watching some
Nice.
Peloton sessions out there. So yeah, I feel it helps wake me up and get the day started. Coffee is a must have for sure. Uh,
1, 2, 3, 4 cups.
yeah, it's like who's counting, right? So
I know I've had my share when my hands start shaking.
yeah, you just gotta just be somewhat aware, or as the day goes on, hopefully you are awake. But that's awesome. Doing the grind at narrative science as well as for your passion manifest as well. I think it's really good balance. Doing a lot of great things out there. You mentioned some of your favorite TV shows. Do you have other, I guess, favorite books or podcasts to recommend to our listeners out there? Besides,
Yeah.
besides Manifest Her.
Yeah. So, favorite book ever is mine. Just kidding. But actually, a quick plug for my book. At the end of every chapter, I actually do recommend a book that inspired that chapter and helped me in some way. So, I'll say top 5 books. I tried to limit it to 3 when I was thinking about this, but top 5. A Tribe Called Bliss by Lori Harder. It's all about community building. It's for women, but men can read it too. Choose Wonder Over Worry by Amber Ray. It's all about putting toxic worry away and choosing to kind of see a different side of negative emotions. The Third Door by Alex Banayan. Just read it. I can't even describe how incredible it is. Atomic Habits by James Clear. And then if you're in for a laugh, Kevin Hart, I can't make this up. You will literally cry laugh. The stories in there are just unbelievable.
I like the balance. Yeah, for sure. Don't worry about writing these down, listeners. We'll get this in the show notes as always. Again, plug for your book though, Stef. So, can you remind our listeners the title, where to find it, and all the good stuff?
Yeah, for sure. So the book is called Manifest Her, The Ambitious Woman's Guide to Getting Unstuck, Navigating the Ambiguity of Your Post-Prescribed Life, and Manifesting Your Biggest Dreams. It is a mouthful for a title, but I wanted it to be really, really clear what the book was about and what it could help people accomplish. You can order it right now at manifest-her.com on our shop. We're doing signed pre-order copies, but as of September 1, it will be available anywhere books are sold.
Really great stuff. Yeah, we'll for sure put Stef's book in today's show notes. For sure.
Thank you.
Add to my book list. Prioritize my book list too. It's gonna like go up from whatever number I'm on. It's gonna probably raise up to number 1.
I love it.
Best one yet. So we talked about your daily schedule. What's on your daily grind in the upcoming weeks later this year?
Oh man, a lot. So launching this book, actually starting work on my next book, Manifest Her: Woman's Guide to Personal Finance, and turning 30. Oh my gosh. I am so excited for the next decade. And hopefully, you know, in my 30s, I really want to become a mom and continue to build the life of my dreams with my husband, the Manifest team, and the Neuroscience team. There's just a lot of exciting stuff to look forward to.
That's great. Yeah, lots of exciting stuff ahead. Working on a second book already. That means we're going to have to get you back on the show.
Yes. And this one, I'm so excited. I'm going to be teaming up with actually one of our podcast guests. Her name's Melrose Bickerstaff. She's actually known really well for being a runners up on America's Next Top Model. I think it was season 7, but because of her experiences in the modeling industry, an incredibly toxic industry, she's decided to reinvent herself and become a personal finance expert and an investment advisor. So lots to come there, but I think that there's going to be really actionable advice for young women kind of trying to get their financial lives together in that book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's going to be another bestseller out there. By you. Again, personal topic, or a very hot topic right now that's trending, personal finance, and amongst women. So yeah, I'm excited what's yet to come.
As am I, sister.
Yeah. So speaking of you being motivating and all the good stuff that we talked about throughout this episode, do you have a word of the day to motivate our listeners out there?
I tried to come up with a word, but I came up with a phrase instead because I love so many words. So the phrase is, you have the life you are willing to put up with. And that was originally said by Gary John Bishop in his book, Unbleep Yourself. And I ask myself every single day, are you willing? And that is the simplest question. But if you are willing, you only get one life. You make every day count, and you can really achieve some pretty badass stuff.
I like it. Very fitting with today's episode and your story. Yeah, this is great. Keep it going. So yeah, I guess last but not least, if our listeners have questions, comments, want to reach out to you, follow Manifest, get involved, things like that, how can they do so?
Yeah, so you can pretty much find me on all platforms under the tag by Stef Caldwell, BYSTEF, Caldwell, CALDWELL. I spend most of my time hanging out on Instagram and LinkedIn, but otherwise check us out at our website, manifest-her.com.
Great. Yeah, thanks a lot, Steph, for providing all that contact info. We'll put her information in today's show notes. As always, thanks again for tuning in today's episode, and a big thank you for Steph for being on the podcast. When it comes to sharing my story, be sure to follow the Daily Grind at KJF Daily Grind on Instagram, and me, your host, at Kelly J. Lefty on Instagram or Twitter. Make sure to go to our podcast network website, ambiguouspodcastsolutions.com, for more content such as You Mad Bro, the Sam Bustle podcast, and GDP, Goal Driven Professionals. Listen on Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until next time, my name is Kelly Johnson. Have a great day.